I'm Steve with This Week with Cars, and this is my 1971 TVR 2500M. I have really been itching to get this car done, even though I've done about 40 videos since I bought this car. Let's take a look back at the day I got this. Right now I'm on my way to Michigan to pick up 3 cars that I bought online. You can see some of the other cars here that are still waiting to be picked up. See a very long row of cars right here. Right here is a really interesting car that I was interested in. This is a Bristol. Here's the 2 TVRs that I bought right here. I'll give you a little tour around the TVR first. This car has triple Webers on it, and as you can see there's an AccuSump up here, and below the AccuSump, I don't know if you can see that, there's actually 2 oil filters mounted to the bottom of that. You can see the triple Weber setup here. I did grab a battery that is out of one of my Austin Healey's. I threw that in there. I've had a lot of setbacks in starting this video. When I bought the car, it didn't have this wheel right here on it. It didn't have a tire for that wheel, and the other, the spare wheel only has part of the wheel there. That's a 3-piece wheel, and I think what happened was someone had damaged the car at one point, and the wheel that's now mounted in the spare was damaged as well. And so I bought a tire that matched as close as I could. The old tires are not available anymore. This is a Yokohama Advan. You can see the size there. Also, the new wheel has black in the center, whereas the others don't. So I either need to make all the wheels black or take some paint stripper and get the black off of that wheel. Inside the car, actually looks pretty good in here. Show the picture back there. It's in pretty good shape. The car is actually pretty original in here for being a track day car. I'm not really sure what this car was created for. The guy that owned this car when I purchased it had passed away, and I don't think anybody really knew what the story was on these cars. When I got the car, this master cylinder here was all busted up, the reservoir at least, so I did buy a reservoir and put that on there. I have not bled anything other than doing that because I knew I would need that in order to make it drivable. On the other car, if you watch the video of me getting my 2500 Vixen running, the alternator was not working when I got that car running. So when I took the alternator off of that car to get it rebuilt, I also grabbed the alternator off of this car to get it rebuilt as well. And they could only get the parts to rebuild one of the alternators, so I put the one that they could rebuild on that green car, the 2500 Vixen. And this one, I'm going to have to figure out what to do for an alternator on this car. I also robbed the water temp sensor off of this car to get that other car drivable. I did that after I had shot that video. And so that's where the state of this car is. I had also, while I was ordering parts, stuck a mirror on the car, and I also stuck a filler cap for the gas tank because it was completely open, and I don't know if there's gas in it, but I didn't want gas fumes to get into my shop. I didn't want junk to get down inside there, so I did put that on there. But other than that, this is the condition that I got it in. So first thing I need to do is get the water temp sensor in, because once I put the alternator on, it's going to be a lot harder to get to that. Alright, here's my new temperature sensor. I need to put some Teflon tape on this. Okay, I have here the alternator that came out of this. This is a Delco Remy version of the Lucas alternator. And apparently they could not get the parts to rebuild this properly. So I'm going to have to adapt something else. I have here a Lucas alternator. I had this one rebuilt some time ago. I have no idea how long it's been on the shelf, but I know that it's rebuilt and that it should work. And I think I can make this one work in place of that Delco unit. Before I go putting this alternator on, I need to make sure that the pulley size is the same diameter as the one that was on this car originally. If it's a different size pulley, then it'll either be turning too slowly to charge, or it'll be spinning too fast, that we could ruin the bearings in the alternator. Here's the old pulley off the other one. You can see it is the same diameter. It's also the same belt width, so I'm just going to leave this pulley that was on this alternator on here and see if I can get it mounted on. Okay, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought, but now I'm going to have to figure out how to wire this alternator versus the one that was in here. So the good thing with figuring out the wiring for this alternator is that I have the old one. And this old one is labeled negative, positive, indicator, and battery. So have to see what the new one says here. We have positive, negative, indicator, and then two more terminals on this one. One labeled 12 volt and one labeled B+. So I guess I'll connect my battery on the old one to the B+ on this one. But I may need to use an activator wire to get this one to turn on. I guess now I can put water into this system and see if it leaks out. I always like to put in water at first before I know that it's not going to leak. It's always easy to drain it out later, and it'll be good for it too to be flushed out with water. Okay, it looks like this hose started to leak. Not really sure why. Got some weird brass fittings on it. I guess this hose has just gotten old. Maybe I can try tightening the clamp a little. Alright, it's still leaking. I'm just going to pull this off and replace it. This isn't really an AN fitting hose anyways. This is just something that someone thought looked cool. If you're not going to use real AN fittings and real racing hoses, don't do this to your car. You can't see what the hose looks like, and you know, it's not doing anything for the car to have it on there. So I'm going to take this off and replace it with a regular hose. Well, it looks like I'm going to have a really good time trying to get this hose off now. These ends prevent me from getting to the edge of the hose to pull it off. It's swollen and old and doesn't want to get in there, and of course I can't cut it with a knife because it's got this metal sheathing on it. Also, all these little ends of the wire keep hooking my hands, and those things really hurt. I think you can see how silly this hose was now. This is not the correct type of fittings that you should be putting on your car. And it's not even a good way for that to seal and to hold water. I'm just going to put a regular hose on here for now, and in the future I'm going to take these brass fittings off and put the right type of fittings and hose on here. Now I'm going to continue filling this up with water, see if the new hose leaks or not. Looks like we're all good. Once I get the car running, it's going to take a while for all that air to bleed out of there. Well, I'm over here. Make sure there's oil in here. This is just an old battery that I took out of one of my other cars and had it sitting around. I've had the charger on it since I pushed the car up here and started filming this video. So it's probably okay now. So let's connect the battery and see if anything works. Okay, that was weird. Well, we know the horn works. Let's connect it again. Alright, I'm going to get some tape and tape those up for now. Maybe I can connect one or two of them. These hot wires here, I'm going to want to tape those off. Okay, let's get inside. Turn the key, see if anything happens. Alright, the key is way down here under the steering column. Turn that on. You hear the fuel pump? It is pumping. Ignition lights on. Sounds like the float bowls are filling up. Even looks like the fuel gauge might work. So let's go back up front and make sure that we're not dumping gas everywhere. This car is equipped with triple Weber carburetors. The fuel pump has gotten quieter now, so they must be filling up, and I don't see any gas leaking anywhere. Throttles move. I can hear the accelerator pumps pumping. Let's see. Yep. Let's see if the chokes move. They do. So, I think I'm ready to try to start this thing. Okay, I have the key on. I'm gonna pull the choke out. And let's give it a try. And nothing. Battery might not have enough power to turn the engine over. Okay, I'm going to do two things to help this car start. There is no bolt here for the positive terminal on the battery, so I'm just going to stick a bolt in there so that that can be tightened up. Okay, the other one needs tightened as well. The other thing I'm going to do is put my good battery charger on it. And I can set the battery charger to an engine start setting that's going to provide 300 amps to the car. And that should be more than plenty enough power to crank it over, assuming that everything is working correctly. We don't even know if the starter works at all. Okay, I went and grabbed a new battery real quick. Get this hooked up. Okay, let's try this again. I still have the choke pulled out. Let's see what happens. Wow, that was pretty quick. Okay, the car runs. I checked that it does go forward and backwards, so the hydraulic clutch is working. It feels like it does have some brakes, but I won't know till I get it outside. I did have to connect up another wire to the alternator, and that looks like it's working now. So I think I'm going to move it outside and see if everything works. Well, I think that was a pretty good success for today. This car is awesome. There's a few little mechanical things. I think there's a lot less electrically to fix on this car than there was on the green 2500 Vixen. And the next thing I need to do is fix the bonnet, choose which bonnet of the two I have I want to put on this car, and get that mounted so that I can start making it drivable. If you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe and comment below.